Hello and welcome back to Dice Jesters. My name is Julie.
And my name is Dave.
And today Dave will be teaching me how to play Targi.
Yes.
Yes, I pronounced it correct.
Absolutely.
So why did you choose this extremely hard title for me to pronounce?
I chose this game because there's a few reasons.
Okay.
So, number one, this game is very strategic, and I think that this will really appeal to you in a couple of ways. It has a lot of long-term planning in it, but it's also a two-player only game, so you can't play this with any more. So it's specifically designed to go head-to-head, and there's an aspect of it that, in my mind, will stand out to you as a former or current chess player, a chess master, if you will, in the sense that there's...
I wouldn't, if you will, because there's going to be people who are going to come for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in the sense of it's strategic, but it's also strategic in the way that you position yourself on this, I want to say board, but it's not really a board, it's more of like a grid of cards that you're putting pieces out, and based on where you put the pieces, you'll get certain things, but it's how you line those up in a specific way that you get them. So you want to position yourself in a way where you get what you want, and you're watching your opponent to see what they're going to need, and positioning yourself in a way where they can't get what they need in order to accomplish what they're trying to go for.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's why it chose this game. It also has some elements that I think will come up in other games, like some of the resource management of trying to collect certain things. So we've seen in, like, Century, for example, where you had to have 2 blues and a green and a purple in order to get this card. Well, this kind of has something like that with resources of dates and pepper and salt or something.
Nice,
Or so a certain card might cost different things, or gold. So you have to collect these, find different ways to collect these in order to do what you want. But it also has a tableau building aspect, kind of like San Juan. So it's a mix of like a board game, but also a card tableau building where you get special abilities throughout the game. So it's really cool. It's one of I would say this is probably my favorite 2-player only game. So I'm really interested to see how you like it.
I'm happy that it's a longer game because I feel like it'll give me enough time to figure out my plan. But if you want to hand me the box.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. What is Cosmos?
Cosmos is it's a toy and game publishing company.
Oh, okay.
They make a lot of good family weight games.
Oh. So, the pieces are cute. So, on the rule book, I see that the cards are kind of set up as a game board, right? Is that what you were referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Ooh, and these are the pieces of dates and spices.
Now, I will say that these are upgraded components that I got from an online store. So originally it was cardboard, but this game, since it was probably one of my favorite 2-player games, I saw it at a good price and decided to get the upgraded components.
Ooh, are these like ninja stars?
There's something.
Right.
Yeah.
Your person? So you upgraded those to metal? And then, how come there's like different shades of meeple people in here? Because
there's, for both players, so there's blue for one player, white for the other, and then the gray is a robber.
Oh, okay. There you go. And these are coins, yes. And then, interesting. I don't know what these are.
So those are the border cards, so those go all around.
Oh, that explains why they look like puzzle pieces almost. And then these are like how you play. Yeah,
those are the cards that will fill in the middle of so these go on the outskirts, and then all these cards go in the middle.
Okay. Oh, you want to put it back.
Yeah.
Just keep it out to set it up. Oh, right. Well, yeah, I don't know. I see some of it, and I kind of understand the premise, but when it comes to just card games, I more so figure it out when we get into it.
Yeah.
So if we do start, which we are, it's not so an if, because I already made the drinks. So how is that determined?
Oh, so this is really awesome. I loved looking for this, and it says the starting player is the person who most recently ate dates.
I like how you're like, I love this, as if you eat dates all the time.
I don't. I can't remember. Do you like to eat dates?
No, I hate dates.
Okay. Well, I've probably more recently eaten them than because I like them.
I've had a dates because I tried it again.
Oh.
To make sure. I had it recently, like 2 weeks ago. It came in a trail mix thing.
Oh, okay. So you're probably more recent then.
All right,
so
I'm player one.
You're player one, yeah.
But yeah, otherwise I don't particularly like them because I tried them again.
Yeah. Do you have any follow-up questions or anything? Before we get started?
No, but I do have the drink.
Yes, that was my follow-up question. Is what did you come prepared with to pair with Targi?
And you can ask me follow-up questions. So it's orange from Fanta.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So there's Fanta in there.
Yeah.
And then
yes.
So there's some blackberry syrup in here.
Okay.
Okay. And then of course, that would be a very sugary drink and we would be up all night. So I added gin.
Makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, this looks beautiful. I'm really excited to try this beverage with this game.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, should I teach you the game? Do you want to dive in?
Yeah, I'm ready to dive in.
Let's do it.
All right, round one, let's go. You're going down.
Probably.
Oh.
I mean, you're really good at these games, so maybe it's possible.
We'll see. We are back after my first round of
Targi.
Thank you. I feel like I'm going to pronounce it incorrectly no matter what. So if you could just continue referring, I'll give you a look
okay.
and then you can say it.
Yep, I'm happy to.
Awesome. So we're back for my first round and I lost. But
just a few points though. You were really close.
Yes, and I lost because I didn't realize that you had cards that said end of game, get extra points for this and that. So I was only counting your cards and like how much your cards were worth. And I was blowing you out the water. And then you came up and was like, "T-t-t-t," and I was like, no, I didn't account for that.
Did you understand when you were doing all that calculating that the rows of cards were worth bonus points if they were all the same or if they were all different?
No, I didn't understand that, but it's not your fault. I always tell you to just give me the basics and we'll run through the first round and then I'll figure out scoring from there. So I don't blame you at all.
Yeah, I mean, still not factoring those things into your decisions, you only lost by a few points. I mean, that was really, really close. So if you had that in mind and knew about those end game objectives or the scoring conditions or the bonus points you can get, do you think that you would have made any different decisions?
Yeah, I think I would have won. No, but I would have made different decisions. So there was a card, an Oasis card, that said you could move 2 cards. And knowing what I know now, I would have taken from my middle row because I had 2 Oasises and 1 cabin.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't finish my 3rd row that I had camels in, so I would have taken one of the Oasises to swap it with the camel.
Yeah.
And then put that 2nd Oasis that I had earned to do that swap into the bottom row. So then I would have got extra points that way.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's cool looking back to those moments and thinking, oh, I would have done this differently, that differently. So it was really cool when we got to the end. I mean, like I said, I only won by a few points, but you were telling me that you had everything mapped out and you had calculated how many points I would have.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, for the first play of Targi, that's pretty advanced.
Oh, thanks.
So you did really, really well. There was even 1 or 2 turns in, I was like, wow, you fully understand this game and the sense that you're making these decisions early on. And what I consider this a pretty strategic game. What do you think?
I'd say so, because you have to look at it in the long run, because you're not gathering the points right away. Because I know when I had gotten a card, I was like, oh, yay, and I was, like, digging in the point bin, and you were like, what are you doing?
Oh,
and I was like, I got 2. And you're like, no, that's for the end of the game. And so that part was a little disappointing that I didn't get to see my points rack up. I mean, I guess you do see your points rack up, but they're just not physical little pieces.
They're on the cards.
Yeah. I prefer to touch the pieces, though.
When you get points, you want that immediate satisfaction of the clinking of the... Yeah.
Exactly.
So what else did you like about the game just in your first play of it?
It's... Okay, so this game is easy for me, but I can see it not... Because I was going to say it's really straightforward, but I could see it not being straightforward for some people.
What do you think people would get hung up on?
So, what were the meeples called in this game?
Targi.
Oh, they were also called Targi. Yeah. Alright, so I'm just going to call them the meeples.
Sure.
The meeples are wherever you place them, that's where you get to be on the middle of the board, and that's where you get to score. So I feel that some people may have issues visualizing where that intersection will be.
Right.
Or what outer cards they need to put their meeple on to get that inner card.
It's true. And then there's some small rules of you can't place across from an opponent, but you can place across from yours, and you can't place on the same space as the robber, but you can place across from a robber. So it took like a few rounds, I feel like, for all of those rules. I think there was one point where you didn't understand that you could place across from a robber, and that was fine. So I think just there's a little bit of learning curve there in terms of how to place them and stuff. But
yeah, I'd say so. I don't know. When I played through this game, I kept thinking if this was the first game you showed me, I would have been confused.
you think so?
Yeah, I would have stared at you and been like, what? And then I don't think I would appreciate this game.
Yeah.
I think I'd be annoyed because I'd be so confused by it.
So I intentionally left this game for the end of the list for that reason. Like, I knew it would be one of the last 1 to 2 games because I wanted to introduce you to some other games first, because I knew this had aspects of things that we'd played before a little bit, but different twists, and just having that mindset of playing previous games, I think, puts you in an advantage to this one. I agree, wouldn't be the first game I'd want to show to somebody.
Yeah.
But it is straightforward in a lot of ways, and I'm glad that you were able to come into it and just really get started quickly with it.
Yeah, I definitely, as it stands after our first game, I would say that this is for people who have some board gaming background or enjoy
For sure.
like card games, and not just a family game, because it's a 2-player game, and B, it would take a little bit to explain it to somebody who's fresh out the gate with board games.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Was there anything else that you can think of that you liked about the game that you wanted to talk about?
That's all I can think of right now, because my brain was kind of just trying to figure out how to do things. I'm sure after multiple rounds, I'll be able to get up to speed with how I want to process and what cards I like and this and that.
Sure, you'll learn what cards are in the tribe deck that you can put out in front of you, and learn what cards are good and what cards might not help you this round.
Yeah.
But also another question I have is, how did you feel like, was this a cutthroat game? How was the player interaction in this one?
There was a few times I was like, no! Because you had gone on something that I wanted to go on, or you took something before I could. So I wouldn't say it's all the way cutthroat, but I would say it is competitive. So you need to have different choices in mind going into the round, because if the first person takes it, then you're going to have to pick something else. So you can't be fixated on one item. But I don't think it's cutthroat because you aren't taking something away from me intentionally, unless you really know. Like the noble, when I had a card that was just chilling.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to basically know and be sure that I wouldn't be able to lay down a card, you would take the noble, because
even if it didn't benefit me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you could do that, but then I'd be making not a great move myself. It wouldn't help me out. So yeah. Was there anything that you disliked about the game after one play?
Anything I disliked? I thought that the purchasing was a little slow, and that's why I was stuck holding a few things, because I had to wait until I got goods to purchase that.
Okay, yeah.
So, and then getting coins, there were only 2 options technically, which is the trader and if you drew a gold coin and or landed on it.
Yeah, that's true. Gold is pretty hard to come by, so when it comes out on the board, I think that's one of the most contested spots. So it's an easy coin to grab where you don't have to trade in a bunch of goods to get it. So it does like take a while to ramp up to get the things that you need, for sure.
But in the same way, I appreciate it, because the whole point of the game is that you're a tribe. So of course, gold's not going to be easy to come by.
That's true.
If it was like real.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. And I agree with the points that you made of the things that you like about it. The slight dislike, I can't really think of anything other than, I think if I'm to name one potential negative thing about the game is, I don't really mind that much. It is a little bit longer of a game, and I don't mind long games, but it feels like, I don't know, maybe it is a little bit too long for for what it is. I can't really quite pinpoint it. I don't know. Maybe it's because we've been playing so many quick games lately that it just stands out to me. It's not like a super negative thing, but...
Well, you technically could make it quicker, couldn't you? If you collected 12 cards before the other appointment.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So it could be a play style as well. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
In
It'll
the
be
first
interesting.
round, I'm slow.
Yeah. We'll time it to see how long it takes so we can keep track to see if it goes down over time, but not a big deal. But I still really like the game, and I think we can give our Meeple score at this point. After one play, what would you say? Targi, where does it land for you?
I would say it's a 4.
A 4 out of 5?
Oh, 4.5. There you go.
4.5?
Yeah, it's a 4.5.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites, just because I do prefer the satisfaction of building quicker. Whatever that may be, like points, decks, colonies, I guess, was in San Juan, right? That was...
Yeah, like
colonies.
your city.
Yeah, cities. So I prefer the... What did you call it? The automatic
satisfaction, yes. Or the reward, or...
Yeah, I like that. Well, this one's more so building it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get it right away.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I would say for me, I don't know, it's somewhere between a 4.5 and a 5. Like, I said it's my favorite 2-player game. I do think this is a really, well-designed 2-player only game. And I'm sure there'll be more that we explore over time, just games designed for 2 players. Because I've wanted to have somebody I could just play 2-player games with over and over and over and over and over and get to know them. And there's so many out there that we can explore. So, but I do love the design of this, of putting pieces on the outside, trying to get the right pieces that they intersect with in the middle, and trying to block your opponent from it. So 4.5. I'll go 4.7. How about that?
4.7.
4.7 out of 5.
Wow, that's like how much we lost.
Yeah,
That's close. Yeah.
Do you want to do the 10x10 with this one?
I could do a 10x10 with this one. Regain my title.
Yeah, regain your title.
Regain my title. Get my mini trophy. Put it in my jar.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's do that and then come back after playing it some more times to see what we think at that point.
All right, sounds good to me. Dave and I are now back from our 10x10. And Dave, was this one of those games when you said, "Oh, I win at this game"? Was this one of those?
Yeah, I picked this game knowing that you would be good at it.
Oh, I meant was this one of the games that you said you usually win at?
Yes, 100%. This is a game that I'm normally good at.
Okay.
I thought that you might beat me.
Oh, okay. And what are the results?
Well, the results, Julie, thank you for asking, were
Always.
6-4.
And who had 6?
You had 6.
I did.
So you officially won one because you had to win by 2 to really be the winner.
You did. Are you going to ask me what my strategy was?
Yeah, what was your strategy going into this? Or let me ask you this. When you first played the game,
yes,
did you see optimal strategies, and did that perspective change throughout the course of our 10x10?
When I originally, my first playthrough,
yeah,
I would say I didn't really see a strategy. I thought it was just kind of you picked a card or whatnot. You placed your piece to get to the cross sections to get the card you were looking for.
Yeah.
But I wasn't looking at the cards in my first round, and I can't really remember what my first impression was, because you and I don't listen to our first impressions. We want everything to be raw, so we just go off what our impression is now.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what the first impression was, but the way I feel I played the first round was I wanted to collect a bunch of coins.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was my need and my livelihood.
Yeah, because I think when we got to the end of that first game, you were asking, oh, what's this worth? What's that worth? Coins, resources, all that stuff. And I was like, oh, literally nothing. I mean, it's a tiebreaker, I think, but you get points from the cards and then the victory point tokens themselves.
Yeah, and I was really sad because I was like, oh, but I have so many goods.
Yeah, well, the goods and coins just feel good to, have in front of you. It's weird that you'd think that they'd be worth something at the end of the game.
I know, it makes your tribe feel bulky.
I know.
Fed.
True.
So, yeah, that's how I felt. And then as I played on, I would say that I started to develop a strategy, because since we were running the same cards, because there's only so many cards in the deck, I knew what cards existed, and I knew how to speed up the process on how to get the cards I needed.
Yeah, I did notice in terms of speeding up, and we could talk about that, but the game in general, the more we played it, I felt like it became quicker and quicker.
Yeah, I would say so.
Like our turns became quicker. Our playtime probably went a little quicker too.
Yeah, because at that point I knew what cards I was hunting for. I wasn't reading every card. I was fixated and only wanted the cards that I knew I wanted.
Yeah.
In my decks.
I feel like every game we play, there's like certain cards that you really latch onto and you really look for those. Like in San Juan, you have a few cards in there that you always go for and somehow you always find them. And in this one, there were a couple of those too. Like there was the one that makes it so you don't have to pay the resources on the raid.
And I got that one first, like every time.
Yeah, and then I would be like stuck trying to pay for these raids when they came up, and you're like, "Oh, I'm good." Well, like, what do you mean you have to pay for the raid? And you're like, "I don't." Every single game, you somehow got that.
And then I liked getting the Targia that got you a victory point for the raid. So then I had like those dual cards.
Yeah. Yes, you got that good combo. So let's talk about. I have some things I'd like to ask you about the artwork and components. How did you feel about those items in this game?
The artwork was nice, and then the components were nice too. So I can't remember my first impression, but I do feel that it still lays true that I like that you build the board. Like, you literally build the board. It's not like a cardboard thing that you lay out.
Yeah.
It's cards, so you can bring it anywhere. Like, you could literally put all of those items in one little bag. Not little, decent sized bag.
Yeah, like a zip, like a freezer bag. You can fit everything in. Yeah.
Yeah, even smaller than a freezer bag. But yeah, so you could put all those in there, and then you could go somewhere and you could play it. I like that aspect, but playing it 10 times in a row, it was tiresome. And the reason it was tiresome was because we always had to like lift over and be careful that we don't hit anything because of the table that we're playing on, and then we had to put the new card on. So it was lots of like back and forth, which I get that Dominion's like you're grabbing cards the whole time, but to me, I don't know why, that just feels different. This felt more contained in an area, so I felt more, I don't know, I felt the need to be more careful.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, and it feels like a game that should be a full-size board, quote-unquote board game with the board and everything, but it's, on the one hand, it's really clever and creative how the designer of this game managed to create that experience with just a deck of cards that become the board, which I think is really cool. But like you were mentioning, the fact that you're having to pick things up and move it over here and then take this resource, I found myself, it's almost like your turns would be slowed down because I wanted to be so careful to make sure that I was taking what I needed and not accidentally taking the wrong thing or forgetting, because whenever you take one of the goods or one of the tribe cards from the middle, it gets replaced with the opposite type, and if you move too fast, you forget where you got the resources and stuff from, and you're trying to remember which cards need to be replaced, and there's a little bit of finickiness in terms of the flow of the turns, I would say, because of the components themselves.
And there was a few times when you and I, probably just me, forgot to move the robber.
Oh, yeah.
So then he would just be chilling.
Like when we did the raid.
Yeah, on the raid, yep.
That was hard to remember. You do the raid, you pay the stuff, and then you move it to the next spot, so it was easy to forget. But yeah, I completely agree with you on that. And I personally think that the artwork is fine. How did you feel about, I know in one of the games we played Space Base, you had issues with the graphic design and things like that. How did you feel in terms of functionality of the components in this game?
No, so I thought that was reasonable for this game. So obviously it was a matching game. You had to match things. You didn't have to match things, but to get optimum points, you had to match things. So to me, it made sense for what it was.
Yeah.
Like, each camp looked like each other because you wanted to collect all the camps in a row, or each Targia looked like each other because you needed to collect all of those. So the art and everything made sense to me in this game. Like, nothing stood out to where it irritated me.
That's good. And I agree. I think one of the things I like is, in general, in the game, you're trying to collect types, cards of the same type in your tableau, and it's easy when you're looking at the board just to see what card you're going to go for. Before I even read the text, I know I'm going to go for that card because I need a card of that type, and those icons are really big. The one thing that comes to mind, though, is I do like the border cards on one side. If you're just teaching the game or learning the game, it has the text on it so you can learn it, and then on the other side has like a really easy to understand icon, and I love that. And the one thing, as I'm thinking about it, that I wish would be a little bit different were the tribe cards as they go out in front of you. some of them have ongoing abilities, and it would have been nice if the tribe cards somehow could have had icons instead of text, because me personally, it's easy to forget. Like, I can do this and I can do that. Every time I get a pepper, I get an extra pepper.
Times one.
Yeah, as the game goes by, it's like, I feel like there are multiple times where I forgot to use a benefit because there's so much text in front of me. Whereas if it's icon based, I can just easily glance across what I have in front of me and just remember what I need to do. For me, that's how my mind works.
No, that's a good point, because then you wouldn't have to change the language and stuff on it too.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be anybody. Like, they would know, I need one more of this shape because it's times one of this shape.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
So that's the only thing. It's not like a big negative for me, but if I were to change, like, recommend one update, it would be somehow converting the text to symbols, like, throughout the game.
Yeah, I think they would still need some text, because in some of it would say, like, if you gained from a goods card. So it would be like, gain salt, get salt. So, like, 2 words.
That's true. I do think I have seen games that the way they handle that is they'll have, like, at the top they'll have icons, and then they'll have text to clarify, like, at the bottom, so you can read it if you need to, but it's just easy to glance at. Maybe something like that could have worked. Yeah. But how did you feel? Let's talk about ease of setup.
It was easy to set up because you and I are very organized.
Yeah.
Like, we kept it in numerical order, and we kept the cards together where they were supposed to be kept. I think if somebody just puts them all into a box, the setup might be a little slower because you're looking for the correct numbers needed.
Yeah.
But as long as you keep them in order, the setup's pretty quick.
I think so. And the more you play this game, the more you know exactly how to lay it out. And we got it out pretty quick, like maybe in
Less than
3 to 2 minutes. So I thought that was pretty good. How about the theme? How much did we get into it?
The theme, okay. So this just could be because I didn't, like, know that much about it, but the camp, the well, and the oasis for the theme, I was just like, the oasis? Like, maybe it could have been something different? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty neutral on the theme myself.
I'm, like, neutral. I like it. I don't know.
To me, like, the theme could be really anything. You could replace the theme almost with anything. I don't know how much of the gameplay itself felt integrated with what the theme was, because at the end you're placing little meeple out and then collecting cards and collecting goods and then putting cards in front of you. Like, there's not much, and it's not a positive or negative to me. It just there's not much, like, in terms of gameplay that I felt completely matched the theme itself. So
yeah, like, you don't need, the theme doesn't have effect for anything.
Yeah,
like, you could do absolutely anything and it would be okay. If you didn't like the oasis, you didn't have to ever buy the oasis. You could always buy some of the other ones, like, if you were basing it off of looks. But
exactly.
Yeah, the theme doesn't matter because all the points and everything just carry over.
How about replayability? So we played the game 10 times. Do you feel like there's enough in this box to just keep coming back to it again and again, where it'll feel fresh and different every time, or does it feel kind of samey? Where do you land on that?
All right, so the reason I started winning towards the end, well, 2 reasons. One, there was the big one of me wanting to get the same score as the creator.
Oh, yeah.
Because we had found that out, or whenever they initially played it, they got 46. So that was one of my goals.
Yeah.
Was to get 46. And then the second reason was because I was just looking for the same cards. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but the last round, I threw away so many cards.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, no. But it would have made sense because I had the oasis or I had the well. Like, it would have made sense for me to continue to keep those cards. But I was like, I don't like it because I was literally waiting for the cards I do like. And they're all at the end cards or, like, more than 10.
You did get a lot of those at the end cards. Yeah.
And that's what or the Targi that allows you to get 4 points for all of your rows. So
yeah,
I don't know, replayability, like, just playing as a 10 by 10, because you and I are dedicated to trying to do, like, a full 10 by 10 where we just continuously do that game to complete it. And I don't know if I could play another 10 of this game just because I would know what I'm looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, to me, the 10 by 10s are really interesting because you and I, like you said, we're playing it 10 times in a row in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to replayability and stuff, that becomes more obvious because of how quickly we're playing them over and over and over again. Whereas I think this is a game where, and this is how I played it before you and I did this 10 by 10, I would play it maybe like a couple times a year. And that amount to me felt like when I played it, I had forgotten, oh yeah, you can get this card and you can do that. And it wasn't glaringly obvious, but since we played it 10 times in a row, it felt kind of samey to me of the cards themselves in terms of the different strategies you can go for. I didn't see a lot of different strategies. It's basically just getting those cards in your tableau, trying to get like a complete row, maybe a different one to get some bonus points, some end game scoring, and maybe trading in some resources for some victory points. But it's not like you can really change up your strategy to where, oh, this game I'm just going to collect resources and just cash those in for victory points. That might be a strategy, but that's just kind of boring to me, of just collecting things, trading it in. Collecting things, trading it in. I think you did do
that, didn't you? You tried
I tried
that?
a little bit, yeah.
And it didn't work out.
And the problem with that strategy is you can't really, this is another kind of like, as we get into potential negatives of the game, there's not like a strong engine building feeling to this game where at the end of the game you've gained a lot of abilities and your turns feel a lot more powerful and you're really good at a certain thing. You're kind of just throughout the game collecting things and then buying things and then starting from scratch again. Okay, then I'm going to like spend a few turns trying to collect things and I'm cashing it all in. And it's not like other games I've played where, yeah, I might need to collect some things, but then I can buy way bigger things because I have like all these abilities that let me do that. So I think like there's not a lot of different areas you can focus to make it so I could keep coming back and trying different strategies and seeing how different things play out. So for me, the replayability is pretty much like, it's not that I never want to play the game again, it's just I don't want to play it all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at with that.
No, I agree. So I think it's a really good game. Like, I think everything about it is really well thought out, and like the dynamic, the play, everything's done really well. It's just, if you're going to use this as a 10 by 10, it's difficult because you just know what kind of cards you want. Yeah. And so replayability in general, it's replayability for back to back to back. Yeah. I would say it kind of gets stale.
Yeah. And I would be really interested, and I'd be curious if you'd be interested in trying this. There is an expansion for the game, which I do have and never played with. And from my understanding, it basically replaces all of the border cards and it replaces it's just a whole new deck of different things. And I'm curious if that like changes up the game at all or makes it any different. There's some different mechanisms that get thrown in there, so
yeah, we could try it.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that. How did you feel about the strategy versus luck? Did you feel like this is a very strategic game? Did you feel like it was more tactical? Was there a lot of luck? Where did you land on that?
So I believe I originally thought that there was some luck involved, but then after playing it 10 times, I think it's more strategy because you technically got to pick the card you were going for. And you kind of had to put on a poker face in a way to make the other person not go where you wanted.
Yeah, don't look at that spot on the board because they might go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
You do that to me all the time.
Yeah. Or like, if they went somewhere, you're like, oh, that's where you're gonna go? Okay, I would have went here to block me. And then you moved there, and you're like, psych, that's where I wanted.
Yeah, that's so funny.
To me, you could kind of coach the other player to do what you wanted. And if worse came to worse, you could just go on that one card. I don't know what that is.
The Fata Morgana, I think.
Yeah, you could go on.
Move.
Yeah, exactly. So you could go on that one, and then you could just move your piece wherever you wanted. So yeah, I think it was pretty. You had to think ahead.
So I think for me, this feels. At first, I thought this is a really strategic game. Julie's going to be good at it because she's a very strategic-minded person. I think this is more of a tactical game more than strategic because, and the reason I say that, I think a strategic game is one where you can start the game thinking, I'm going to go for this strategy, this game, and go hard on that and just do everything I can to make that strategy work. This is a game where every single round you're just doing the best with what's in front of you, and there's not really like, you can't start the game thinking, I mean, because there's so few strategies in the game, like, oh, obviously this game I'm going to try to get a complete row of all the same. Like, that's pretty obvious. So there's not much that you can really set out to do from the initial turn that's going to be different than decisions you'll make halfway through the game that will impact that, if that makes sense. It's more of responding to what's in front of you and responding to the other player in that moment, I think.
I get where you're coming from on that because that does make sense. And I think the reason that I said strategic is because if you looked at the cards I played, they were strategic. Like, if you think about that last game,
Yeah.
I was getting cards that would say, if you gain a date, get another. If you
that's
get
true.
assault, get another. So then every round, I would get 2 of everything. And then at the very end, I decided to purchase a card prior to a different card, and that card allowed me to get 3 goods.
Yeah.
And then I got the 3 goods needed to purchase that final card. Well, if I didn't do it that way, I wouldn't have enough goods for both cards.
That makes sense. So there are some elements of strategy. I would say for me it leans more into tactical, but you're right. There were some cards where you can get those early on and then kind of build a strategy around doing that thing really well or doing it better or using that to your advantage.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. How about, how do you feel in terms of like the player interaction in this game? Did you feel like it was cutthroat? Did you feel like it was, you just kind of do your own thing? Do you have to watch what the other person's doing?
I feel like it's 50-50. So you, for the most part, could do your own thing, but you still every now and then had to check up on the other person to see how many cards they had, because let's say you had 3 cards and they had 10. So you better start buying whatever it may be and forget about matching, because you want to have points at the end, seeing that they just need 2 more cards.
To get the 12 required to end the game.
Exactly. And then the other portion of it is you wanted to watch them as well and kind of read their minds a bit or guess to see what card they were going for, so you could either block them or get to the card first.
That's true. So there is the opportunity to watch what the other person's doing and respond to that. I personally, this could just be my play style. I wasn't paying super close attention to what you were putting in front of you. And if I really blocked a spot, it was because it was the best spot for me. I wasn't really trying to, but you could kind of pay attention and just put your person down on that spot that you know the other person needs. So I think that potential is there. It doesn't feel like incredibly cutthroat, but there could be some annoying moments where it's like, I really needed that. You put the person there. Okay. So it could be intentional or non-intentional, but I think that there's a decent level of player interaction. Now, what do you think about the game arc? Like, and what I mean by that is, how does the game feel at the end versus the beginning? Do you feel like there's any sense of progression compared to decisions you'd be making toward the end of the game compared to the very first turn?
Minimal. I feel like there's minimal. So, again, with the playstyle I chose the end reward of at the end of the game, so I wasn't helping myself really ahead of time. I was keeping everything to the back.
Yeah.
So I didn't see that come to light until the end of the game. So that's why I would say it's very minimal.
Yeah, I agree. I would say minimal for me too. The turns in the beginning of the game to me feel very similar, and it's because of the reasons I mentioned before, that there's not a strong engine building feeling of this game. So my last couple turns, I could just be collecting resources and then trading that in for like a point or something. So it's not, I don't know, that to me is probably the biggest drawback of this game, is there's not a strong arc. And maybe that is the reason why, when we talked about replayability, the game itself is not a very long game, but we didn't play this game twice in a row. And I think that's because of that lack of a sense of progression and accomplishment by the end of the game. That would make you want to start, okay, this time I want to start again and then try something different and see how I can build it up. It's just doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again for like 35 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we'd be like, okay, we're good. We're going to play something else. We don't want to play this twice in a row.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Who would you say this game is for, audience-wise?
This game, honestly, this game could be for anybody.
Yeah.
If they were looking for an easy game to teach somebody, or if somebody didn't have a big group of people to play with and they only had one other person. So that's how I feel. I feel like anybody could get into this game because it's very easy to follow. I don't see anybody having troubles learning this game.
Yeah, I agree. I do think for anybody, and the fact that it's 2 players makes it easier, less intimidating. You have a whole table full of people that you're trying to learn the rules in front of. And I think that the fact that the game has the rules printed on the border cards, if you play on that side, makes it easy as a new player just to read what everything does. Everything is so self-explanatory. So
yeah,
the only thing that might be a little bit confusing is how the tableau like grid works of starting a row and then having the way it scores maybe. But I think that those were pretty intuitive. So, all right, Julie. So,
yes.
What is your 10 by 10 meeple score for? Can you pronounce the game?
Isn't it Targi?
Targi.
Targi?
Targi.
Targi? Targi? See, this is why it took me forever to pronounce it the first time.
Yeah.
It's because I look at the spelling and I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, you asked me my meeple score, though.
Yeah, your meeple score.
It's the real important question. My meeple score. Wait, do we usually do out of 5 or out of 10?
Out of 5.
Okay, out of 5. Huh. See, I don't know. This one's hard for me to score because I do feel like it's a good game. I just feel that doing it for a 10 by 10 just gets stale. Like,
it is,
a little
yeah.
saltine crackery.
Yeah. Maybe, like, base it off of how excited, let's say we're going to play a game. And I said, Julie, let's play a round of Targi. How excited would you be to get this to the table?
Like, we waited a while?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know.
In an ideal circumstance.
Maybe like a... See, I feel like I'm only saying 4 because I feel bad.
Don't feel bad.
I don't know. I don't feel like I would personally really... If it was out of all the games that we have already played, I don't know if it would be my first go-to choice.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I want to kind of lean towards like a 3.8. But then I'm like, but it deserves a 4 because it's a good game.
It's a good design.
It's just, and it was receive a 4 instead of a 5 because to me there's no back-to-back replayability.
Right.
So I would say 4. I'm gonna go with 4.
I'm gonna go with 4 as well. I can't remember I think my initial score is 4.5 because to me I'd played this game so seldom, and when I did, it felt like a very innovative, cool design of putting the people out and the cross sections and stuff. I thought was really interesting. But playing it 10 by 10, I started to notice some of those things about the game itself that my tastes and preferences are for games that you can build something, and this game lacked that for me. So a 4 out of 5 for me too. I think it's good, and I'm happy to play it from time to time, but it's not going to be one that I'm going to want to come back to constantly.
Yeah. Oh, happy we agree.
Yeah. So the big question is, with that in mind, are we going to keep this to play or trade it away?
See, I don't know. Is there like a store away?
Store away, like table it for...
Table it for
to
another
reassess.
day. Yeah. Reassess.
We can reassess.
Yeah, reassess.
We don't have to trade away this second, but we'll see. Maybe after a few months or so if we've come back to it or not, and then we can decide if after some time we're like, hey, this has been sitting here, we haven't had any desire to play it, then maybe we'll trade away, but we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, I like that idea. I think that's solid.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for playing Targi with me 10 times and winning.
10 times.
And that is all that we have for this week. Be sure to join us on Instagram at DiceJesters or reach out to us. We would love to hear from you at thedicejesters@gmail.com. Next week, we'll be taking an in-depth look at the game The Quacks of Quedlinburg, so be sure to join us. And until then, play all the games with the ones you love.